Hello there. Now to all you royalists and anti-royalists. It matters not which mountain of opinion you sit on, change is coming to the UK monarchy. Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the rump by giving this video a big, fat like. Now, just as with Brexit, there are two main sides to the monarchy debate in the UK. There are the royalists, who support our royal family and believe that it represents the bedrock of the nation. But there are also those who would prefer to see our monarchy disbanded and replaced by an elected head of state. Now, at the moment, while Queen Elizabeth II reigns, I believe that the royalists outnumber the anti-royalists. But there is a small but powerful metropolitan elite that would far prefer a Meghan Markle style royal family than a Prince Charles type. Or maybe a really slimmed down version like the Dutch royal family. Now, the royalists point to the Queen, Prince Charles and Princess Anne, for example, and say, look at how hard they work for the UK. Cue the anti-royalists, who in turn point at Prince Andrew and the Sussexes as contrary examples. Now, in the coming months and years, I think we'll see the importance of the royal family pared back, much to the disappointment of the royalists. But the monarchy won't be abolished either, much to the disappointment of the more Republican-minded. And in the past, this type of conflict of opinion led to civil wars and the like. So one would hope that in a modern UK, this can all be sorted out a little more amicably. Like that other binary choice, Brexit, is being settled. And several recent events are putting the future of our royal family seriously under the microscope. One of them is the Prince Andrew episode. The next is the Meghan and Harry debacle, and the third is actually Brexit. And the first two of those could end up with our Queen suffering her second annus horribilis. The first one being that of 1992, when a whole string of events piled untold pressure on her. For example, her second son, Prince Andrew, Duke of York, separated from his wife, Sarah, Duchess of York. Her daughter, Anne, Princess Royal, got divorced from Captain Mark Phillips. All the dirty linen was exposed in the book, Diana, Her True Story, as well as taped conversations of an intimate nature Diana had with another man. The fire in Windsor Castle and the eventual separation of the Prince and Princess of Wales just added to the misery. And there were other events too, which led the Queen to say in a speech marking her 40th anniversary of accession to the throne, 1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis. So facing the start of 2020, where some are saying that this bolt from the blue from Harry and Meghan puts the whole future of the monarchy at risk, will not be welcome news to her. But starting with Prince Andrew, he proved to a very suspect judgment where choosing friends and acquaintances are concerned, to the extent that he has effectively been fired from royal frontline duty. And his position was not helped by the decision to tell all in a TV interview, when the usual approach would be to never apologise and never explain. With the Sussexes, we've seen the royal family itself sidelined by a couple of in-house Kardashian wannabes. They appear to have taken the unilateral decision to step back from what they call senior royal duties to swan off and make their own way in the world, while saying that when they're in the UK, they'll still live like royals at our expense. And all helped with their newly applied for trademarked brands of Sussex Royal and Sussex Royal, the foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, or Brand Sussex, as it's being called in general. Not a good way to garner public support, except amongst a small segment of the celebrity-loving circle, one supposes. Now, there's some interesting things about this brand Sussex. The first is that the details of the trademarks for it were first published on the 20th of December 2019. Now, I'm not a qualified lawyer or anything, but that does give, I think, 2 months for someone to lodge notices of opposition to them. Without opposition, then they will get trademark registration. But there's more. The company that applied for these trademarks is registered at Companies House under the number 12077679, called Sussex Royal, the Foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And when you dig down, you find out that it was incorporated on the 1st of July 2019. So, possibly part of a plan over 6 months in the making? Who knows? But further, the company secretary is named as Gerard Tyrrell of 7 Savoy Court. If you use Google, you can find out his specialities. And all the other directors, past and present, are downers from Kensington Palace, including the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Now, as far as I can see, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are not identified specifically as Harry and Meghan by name, only by the title. So one presumes that were anyone minded to strip them of their titles for not operating as the firm wants them to act, then Harry and Meghan might well be unable to use those trademarks for personal gain. Just a thought. But I'm sure their lawyer will have thought that one through. I'm also sure that they are content that they will retain their titles, because in a statement they said, "We now plan to balance our time between the United Kingdom and North America, continuing to honour our duty to the Queen, the Commonwealth and our patronages." But what they've done is told the firm they're going part-time, but it seems they also want to retain many of the privileges and money of their top posts, as well as use the royal brand for personal gain. Not really a good look, whichever way you view it. No wonder they've got access to a leading lawyer in the field of litigation, with particular reference to the work that he carries out in the fields of information protection, privacy and defamation. Piers Morgan might then want to be looking over his shoulder after his rather pointed article in the Daily Mail today, where he wrote, "I've seen some disgraceful royal antics in my time, but for pure arrogance, entitlement, greed and wilful disrespect, nothing has ever quite matched the behaviour of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex." And he went on to be rather rude about our Meghan, who he says he met and helped, but as soon as she'd got what she wanted, she was off, never to be heard from again. Well worth a read. So here's some more. To put it bluntly, she's an unsavoury, manipulative, social climbing piece of work who has inveigled her way into Prince Harry's heart and used his blind love as a platform to now destroy everything he once held so dear. She's caused a tremendous rift between Harry and William. She's ruined Harry's reputation with the public as a hugely popular, fun, carefree soul, turning him into a miserable-looking, virtue-signalling, laughing stock. And now she's ripped him away from his beloved grandmother, the Queen. None of this has surprised me. Meghan's been doing this kind of stuff all her adult life. Moving on. Now, many pundits and commentators refer to the royal family generally as the firm, like it's some sort of business, but more probably pertaining to the front, pomp, ceremony and secrecy surrounding the whole monarchy. And in some ways it is a firm, a company, because it is an outfit that is in the business of lineage. Its raison d'etre is its own survival as the only provider of the head of state of the UK and its dominions, or more accurately, the Commonwealth realms. And that survival depends on the goodwill of the people over which the monarchy reigns, especially here in the UK. At the moment, that support looks to be well cemented in. And part of keeping it that way is for it to be tightly controlled, to follow strict, time-honoured rules of not getting involved in politics and putting forth a certain royal image. The public expect to see smartness and decorum at the trooping of the colour and the state opening of Parliament, not the gobby self-entitled moaning about the decor and that they might have to cut it all short for a lunch date with friends at Claridge's. So outsiders coming in to try and modernise the royal family and make it into a modern progressive brand will not be well received if it threatens the very reason for the family's existence, as it is likely to do. And I can tell you that if the lovey elite ever do get their hands on the monarchy, it will be dead and buried within a decade. And that's part of the reason why traditionally royal families always sourced their spouses from similar firms, in the shape of princes and princesses, because they've been brought up knowing and understanding the royal norms. The point here is that the monarchy has always been up to nefarious shenanigans, but in this day and age their antics are far more visible. So they will have to work a lot harder on living up to their pious public image in order to survive in the 21st century. If they wish to be the epitome of all that is good and British, then some of them will have to change their ways and start acting accordingly and leading by example. It's a life of privilege, but it's a tough life. Now, with Brexit comes the promise by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the Tory general election manifesto to basically rewrite the UK constitution, something many people will have forgotten about. And there is an appetite in the air for constitutional change where such things as the House of Lords and the royal prerogative are concerned. Probably why the last Conservative manifesto heads it all off by stating that when in government it will set up a Constitution, Democracy and Rights Commission, saying, "After Brexit, we also need to look at the broader aspects of our Constitution, the relationship between the government, Parliament and the courts, the functioning of the royal prerogative, the role of the House of Lords, and access to justice for ordinary people." This post-Brexit shuffling of the UK constitution will obviously affect the position of the monarchy. And there has also been talk that the Queen and/or Prince Charles also want to slim down the whole royalty thing and take some of the bloat out by removing some dead wood, or probably more to the point, remove those that threaten the sustainable future of the royal family. Because if they get this wrong, we could be looking at Queen Elizabeth the Last, as well as King Charles the Never Was. If we are to continue operating with a constitutional monarchy, then we should have a monarchy that doesn't flaunt its wealth and privilege, but lives their lives as an example, while not stooping to make political comment. The Queen knows the monarchy is in trouble, and it does appear as if she is working towards a clearing out of that dead wood from the royal family. Her choice of photos on display at Christmas time, for example, was mostly focused on the immediate succession, and that is a break from the norm. Aside from her second son's scandal, the Queen will be looking at reducing the duties and privileges of her younger son, whose military career was shorter than his brother's memory in a recent interview. Yet he wears more medals than a Tin Pot dictator. But what has happened to the people's Prince Harry? It's like he was neutered halfway down the aisle. Where is the man who championed the Invictus Games and served in numerous military operations? He is morphing into Hyacinth Bouquet's long-suffering husband Richard. One can't be too hard on the lad though. It's not his fault he was born into the role of being the spare, should anything have happened to his elder brother. But now William has procreated en masse, Harry is no longer the necessity he once was in the royal family. As for Meghan Markle, well, she is to the royal family what Yoko Ono was to the Beatles. And she has been decried as an opportunist who wants to turn her and her husband into the next Kardashians. But hey, considering some of the colourful remarks made by Prince Philip in the past, she was possibly never going to fit in with the royal family anyway. So Meghan may now be maximising on her husband's background to further her own self-promotion, and she may well love him. But the problem is most people just don't care anymore. The shine always comes off when the royal princess starts becoming a politician, because it gives people a target. And taking a stance politically will always make enemies, and being a royal makes that doubly true. It's like throwing insults at your own firing squad and then handing them the ammunition. There have been one too many hypocritical, politically correct virtue signals from this couple, and their decision to step down might be more staged from within the royal family than is being let on. But history is clear. Anyone who presents a threat to the firm must first be distanced, then dealt with, especially if your name is Jeffrey. Now, if you want to see my mug on a mug, then there's a link to some merchandise below. And if you want to hear more from me, then please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell or you won't get notifications. Anyway, what do you think about the future of the UK monarchy? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.